adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and friends. Starring that jet-age aerial ace, Rocket J. Squirrel. And his pal, Bullwinkle the Moose.
Hi, glad to see you again.
Likewise.
We got some great things on the show today.
Like what? Like what?
Well, you ought to know, Bullwinkle. You're in some of them.
Well, let's get started.
You know, things are usually pretty peaceful in Frostbite Falls, Minnesota. Most of the time, the citizens just sit around swapping yarns.
You give me some red yarn, I'll give you some blue yarn.
You throw in an embroidery needle, it's a deal.
You're on, Calvin.
Some people play endless checker games.
Aren't you gonna jump me, Clarence?
Jump, couldn't I just nudge you a little?
Other Frostbite Fallsians play lazily at tiddlywinks as they, aren't you fellas gonna play?
Brother, I'm just too tired to tittle.
And you, sir?
If he don't give a tittle, I don't give a wink.
Charlie Parlor came dashing up the street like a madman.
Look at old Charlie come, will you?
Why, fur, do you suppose he's gone so fast?
Maybe he's running amok.
Looks more like he's running a temperature.
Maybe he's got the sunstroke.
Sun isn't shining, Mort.
Maybe he's got shade stroke.
But no, what Charlie really had was a telegram addressed to Bullwinkle Moose.
Telegram? We ain't had no telegram in this town since the war. Oh, I'll never forget what that one said.
Remember Pearl Harbor?
Nope, remember the Maine.
And finally, in a little cottage on the outskirts of town.
Bullwinkle! Bullwinkle!
Where?
That's you.
Oh, so it is.
This here telegram's for you.
Read it, will you, Rock? I don't have my glasses.
Bullwinkle, I keep telling you don't wear glasses.
Well, I said I didn't have any.
Okay, here goes. Dear brother,
Brother?
you are invited to attend the annual convention of the Bam Bams. The Bam Bams?
Certainly, that's my lodge. See?
The Big American Moose's Benevolent Artistic and Marching Society.
Right, the Bam Bams.
Oh, boy.
Read on.
Anyway, they want you to attend the annual convention.
Well, I don't know.
They say they're going to elect you vice president.
Well,
They say they'll pay all expenses.
Well...
And you can bring your ukulele and sing.
Let's pack!
And so, in just a little while, our heroes were at the ticket office with their suitcases in hand.
Give us 2 tickets to, where are we going, Bullwinkle?
To the convention, Rock. Did you forget already?
Yeah, but where's the convention?
Oh, let's see. Oh, yeah, it's in Peaceful Valley, Missouri.
2 tickets to Peaceful Valley.
First, second, or third class?
What's the difference?
First class, you ride in a closed car. Second class, you ride in an open car.
Gee, what's 3rd class?
You ride under the car. Now, how much can you afford to spend?
Well, anything up to $1.50 is okay.
Yeah, of course that includes meals and tips.
Well, the only thing I have for $1.50 is our Shanks Mare excursion ticket.
Sounds good. We'll take it.
You got it.
What is it?
We've had it.
Yes, the Shanks Mare excursion ticket meant only that our heroes were allowed to walk the railroad tracks from Minnesota to Missouri.
But that includes stopovers to shake the rocks out of your shoes.
Little did our heroes know that at that moment they are the object of close scrutiny by an eye high in the sky. Yes, an orbiting satellite is broadcasting their positions across thousands of miles to where a sinister figure waits sinisterly.
Well, Georgie, are they on their way?
Yes, fearless leader.
Good, that completes step 1. And, Georgie,
Yes?
that first step is a Lulu.
Well, why is this fearless leader keeping tab on our heroes? Maybe we'll find out next time.
Over your dead body.
And maybe we won't. But watch anyway for Landslide on the Rails or Bullwinkle covers his tracks. Last time, you remember, Bullwinkle was invited to attend the annual convention of the Bam Bams.
The Big American Most Benevolent Artistic and Marching Society.
Yes.
Incorporated.
Yes, and...
Founded in 1820 on a raft in the North Woods.
You mean founded in 1820?
Nope, founded. The raft sank.
Be that as it may...
And it may.
Our heroes are now traveling by rail to Peaceful Valley, Missouri, where the convention is to be held. They're going fourth class on the Frostbite Falls main line, which actually means they're walking on the railroad ties.
Boy, this is sure a slow way to travel, Bullwinkle.
Oh, it could be worse.
How?
If you go tourist class, you gotta walk in between the ties.
But slow going isn't our heroes' only problem, for high above them spins an orbiting satellite, an eye in the sky that is flashing their whereabouts to a sinister room thousands of miles away in Pottsylvania.
All is going according to plan, fearless leader.
Good, good. Now it is time for our man in Minnesota to take over. Who is available, Georgie?
Well, let's see. Anastasia got caught by FIB.
You mean FBI.
That's what I said. He told an FIB to the FBI and got 20 years.
Go on.
Engelbert is visiting his mother and can't get away.
Can't get away? Where is his mother?
In San Quentin.
Oh, well, who does that leave us?
I'm afraid to tell you, fearless leader.
Afraid? Why?
You'll have me liquidated for telling you bad news.
Come, Georgie. I'm your fearless leader. Don't you trust me?
Of course.
Then tell me.
It's Boris Badenoff.
Schweinhund! Take him away!
But fearless leader!
And let this be a lesson, Georgie. Don't trust anybody. Now, Dimitri, send message to that sniveling idiot in Minnesota.
And at that moment, that sniveling idiot...
Or as we know him, Boris Badenoff.
...was on a hill high above the railroad tracks rigging a fiendish device.
Observe, Natasha. I dig away ground in front of huge boulder. Boulder rolls down dotted line, hits track right at crossing.
Darling, what do we have against crossing?
Nothing, Natasha. But when moose and squirrel are on the crossing...
Then X marks spot.
You said it, dollface.
You got orders to do away with them?
Who needs orders, Natasha? This one's on the house.
And sure enough, as our heroes approached the crossing, Boris cut away the last bit of earth and the boulder roared on its way. But just then a sinister-looking bird flapped his way to Boris's shoulder.
Aha! A carrier pigeon.
Carrier pigeon? Boris, that is a buzzard.
Nonsense. This is a Pottsylvania pigeon, and he brings us orders.
Moose and squirrel must arrive at Peaceful Valley, safe and sound. Signed, Fearless Leader.
Aha! You see, Natasha? I beat Fearless Leader to it. Already
you did what, darling?
Already I cut my own throat.
And quickly disguising himself as a track walker, Boris dashed down the hill. Soon he had passed the onrushing boulder.
Don't come any further. Go back.
What's that fella hollering?
I don't know, but we better wait here on this crossing.
Seems as good a place as any.
You got to go back.
Why?
Because huge boulder is going to hit in that exact spot.
See, that must be what this X is for.
Yes, Bullwinkle was right for the first time, and it looked as if it might be the last time, too, for at that moment... Oh, don't miss our next flat episode, Rocky and the Rock, or Taken for Granite. Yes, sir, there's nothing quite like going by rail. Unless, like Rocky and Bullwinkle, you go fourth class on the Frostbite Falls main line. For that means you walk where you're going on the railroad ties.
But you get a free can of bunion cream with each ticket.
Sure, a dull way to go, Bullwinkle. Nothing ever happened.
Oh, little did Rocky know, for at that moment on a hillside above them, Boris Badenoff had just released a huge boulder designed to hit them just as they reached the point where the railroad tracks made a big X. But when Boris got his orders from Fearless Leader via Pottsylvanian carrier pigeon...
Says Moose and Squirrel must get there safe and sound.
Oh, boy.
So Boris had to disguise himself as a track walker and run ahead of the huge boulder, shouting to our heroes as he went.
Stop! Luke, listen! Landslide!
What'd he say? What'd he say?
I can't understand a word. Sounds like his teeth are loose.
Go back! The bridge is out!
You were right, Rock. He says his bridge is out.
You got to go back!
But we just got here.
If you don't go back, go forward, but don't just stand there.
Why?
Because Big Rock is going to hit on that exact spot.
Say, how come you know all this?
Because
Look out!
Yes, at that moment, the onrushing boulder bounded high into the air and landed right on the X. Or very near it, anyway.
You know something? He was almost right.
We gotta get him out from under there, Bullwinkle.
And by using a tree trunk as a lever and Bullwinkle's mighty moose muscles for power, our heroes were able to move the huge rock.
Gee, there's nothing here but his hat.
But where's he?
I'm on that hat.
Hokey smoke! You were hammered into the ground just like a big nail, Mr. what is your name anyway?
Why not call me Spike?
How do we get him out, Bullwinkle?
Well, if he was put in like a nail, he's got to come out like a nail.
And so, finding a tree branch shaped like a hammerhead, Bullwinkle hooked it into Boris's ears and pulled.
Easy, Bullwinkle. Let's get him out of here in one piece. That's it!
But when Boris got out of the hole, he acted rather strangely.
Does the crosstown bus stop here, conductor?
Bus, this here's the railroad.
Then let me off 125th Street and give me blue transfer.
Rocky, maybe I pulled too hard.
How's that?
I think I flipped his lid.
Goodness, listen to all the boardies.
Birdies!
Come here, you little rascals, you.
And Boris skipped off while our friends watched in amazement.
Wake me early, Mother dear, for I'm to be Queen of the May.
Boris, you have changed somehow.
Changed? I'm still sweet, oh, lovable me.
See, you have changed. Well, now what do we do?
Let's start Cub Scout troop for underprivileged children.
Boris, what if fearless leader should hear you?
Fearless leader? Who is he?
If you're listening, fearless leader, he's only kidding. Boris, you know who is fearless leader. Here is his picture.
Ooh, he looks like it a meanie.
A meanie. He is cruelest, meanest, evil, wicked snake in the grass in all Pennsylvania.
Ooh.
And he is your hero.
Mine hero?
Sure, look. Here are his latest orders.
Moose and Squirrel must arrive at Peaceful Valley safe and sound. He's really a bad man?
Darling, he's like the worst.
That settles it. I do just the opposite from what he says.
You mean?
Certainty. I'll go to knock off Moose and Squirrel. It's the only decent thing to do.
Boris, you know what will happen.
Of course. I'll get 2 gold stars and a brownie.
And grabbing a nearby stick of TNT, the addle-brained Boris began to dance after our friends. Don't miss our next Daffy episode, Trouble Upstairs, or Bats in the Boris. Well, our boys are still on their way to the annual Big Moose Convention in Peaceful Valley, Missouri.
I didn't know there were any meese in Missouri, Bullwinkle.
Oh, certainly, Rock. Look, here's a picture of one.
Boy, Missouri meese sure look different.
Well, they are a little smaller.
And they got shorter hair.
And shorter noses, too.
And their antlers aren't as big.
And they give milk.
Milk? This isn't a moose, Bullwinkle. It's a cow.
All the same, it's a honorary moose.
How can a cow be an honorary moose?
Well, we had a big membership drive a while back. Guess we got carried away a little.
Sure wish we could.
Could what?
Get carried away a little. I'm sure tired of walking.
Then why not fly?
And leave you, my old buddy, never.
I knew you'd say that.
Then why'd you ask?
If I hadn't asked, you wouldn't have said it.
Oh.
But meanwhile, fate is preparing a cruel blow for our boys in the shape of Boris Badenov, who has suddenly reformed due to a crack on the head.
I won't do a thing that nasty fearless leader tells me.
But why, darling?
Because he's a meanie.
Shh, Boris, he might hear you.
So I disobey all his orders. What was last order?
It said do not kill moose and squirrel.
Then I do it anyway. And afterward, we pick flowers and send them to shut-ins everywhere.
Everywhere?
San Quentin, Alcatraz, Sing Sing.
And grabbing a nearby stick of explosive, Boris danced after our friends. In a little while, he was lying in wait for them near an old watchman's shack.
Hey, that looks like a keen place to rest.
Lead me to it.
I can't. You're ahead of me.
Then follow me to it.
And our heroes entered the abandoned shack and shut the door. Instantly, Boris grabbed a roll of wire and dashed round and round the tiny dwelling, wrapping it with loop after loop.
Here we go, loopy-loo. Here we go, loopy-lie.
In a few moments, the shanty was completely hog-tied, and inside, Bullwinkle was about to make a startling discovery.
I'll get some wood and we'll start it. Start it. Hey, door must be swole up.
Swole up my foot.
Mine too. It's all that walking.
No, sir. That door is wired shut, and so are the windows.
Now, who'd want to do a dizzy thing like that?
That's easy. Dizzy Boris Badenov, who, thinking he was doing good deeds, lit the fuse on his stick of TNT.
Law and order, blow them up and then I cross the border.
But at that moment, high above, the whizzing spy in the sky satellite was sending the whole scene back to Pennsylvania and its furious, fearless leader.
Blutsinnige Leber, geharnischte Möckelmörder Geisteskranker.
Any orders, fearless leader?
Yes, activate the satellite.
You really mean?
Don't argue, Dimitri. Do it.
And with trembling finger, Dmitri pushed the activate button. Instantly, a door opened in the satellite and a hand emerged holding a large brick. It paused while complicated machinery figured distance, angle, speed, and windage, then launched the missile earthward. Just as Boris was about to lob the TNT through the window of the shanty, it was pretty close at that. But But the explosion blew the wired-up shack right from over our heroes' heads, setting them free.
Hooray!
It also blew Boris Badenov into the next county, where he was found a few days later by his partner in crime, Natasha.
Okay, Boris, you want to start Cub Scout troop? We start Cub Scout troop.
Cub Scouts, are you out of your mind?
Boris, you mean...
Oh, Natasha, shut up, you mouth.
Oh, darling, you're back to abnormal.
Yes, he certainly is. And what new peril does this hold for our friends? Be with us next time for Boris on a Broomstick or the Flying Sorcerer. For a story about a convention, ours has been pretty unconventional so far. For our heroes are still walking the tracks on their way to Missouri, watched by a satellite high in the sky that is flashing pictures of them to Pennsylvania's fearless leader.
Fearless leader, Moose and Squirrel are taking a long time to get to Peaceful Valley.
Tut, tut, it is all part of the plot. And remember the words of our great protector, Mr. Big.
Whisper his name.
A watched plot never thickens.
Meanwhile, Boris Badenov, who was blown up by one of his own fiendish plans, is determined to be revenged.
But, Boris, fearless leader says Moose and Squirrel must arrive safe and sound.
Fui to fearless leader.
Fooey.
Fui, fui, and double fui.
Boris, your language. It is a family show, remember?
Fui to families, too. Oh,
Boris, darling, what is it?
it's a lump.
But what made the lump?
This brick with a note on it.
What does it say?
The brick, it don't say nothing.
The notes, darling.
Oh, it says, fearless leader is watching. Oh, boy.
Yes, the Pennsylvanian satellite was now hovering high over Boris's head, keeping him under constant surveillance.
Just kidding, fearless leader. You know what they always call me? Million laughs Badenov.
Badenov, you nitwit.
They call me that, too.
Get to Peaceful Valley and carry out your instructions.
Yes, fearless leader. But how?
How? Use your special secret agent rocket kit. Build a rocket. Fly there.
Yes, fearless leader.
Signing off.
You're Sarah Bossman, sir, you...
Fearless leader, I didn't know there was a secret agent rocket kit.
There isn't. I just made it up.
Natasha, did we got secret agent rocket kit?
I don't know, darling. Let me look in pocketbook. Here is poison lipstick.
What shade?
Kiss of death pink.
I prefer Black Widow black or Vampire violet.
Some booby pins for setting booby traps.
Ah,
Autograph picture of Benedict Arnold.
good old Benny.
And the membership card in PTA.
PTA, like parents and teachers?
No, darling, like in pickpockets and thieves.
That's better, but still no rocket kit?
No rocket kit.
Oh, boy, here, let me take a look.
Boris, don't turn it upside down.
Nonsense, I got to... What was that?
My explosive perfume.
Explosive perfume?
I call it the boom.
And meanwhile, our two heroes are still trudging slowly toward Peaceful Valley, Missouri.
Boy, it sure is hot.
Never mind, Bullwinkle. There's a tunnel up ahead. It'll be cooler in there.
And our heroes plunged into the cool darkness of the tunnel, little realizing that the fast express was plunging into the other side.
Bullwinkle, look out!
In another instant, Rocky flashed out of the tunnel with the express close behind him.
Bullwinkle, where are you?
Right here, Rock.
Well, get off that train. You don't have a ticket.
I can't. My hoof is caught in the cow catcher.
You mean moose catcher.
Don't crack jokes during the action scenes. Nobody hears them anyway.
Right. I'll go tell him to stop the train instead.
In a few minutes, the train was stopped and Bullwinkle was extracted from the front of the engine.
Well, here we are, safe and sound.
But where are we?
Alas, they found out all too soon.
Bullwinkle, it's 12 o'clock already and we're still in Frostbite Falls. You know what that means?
Yup. Time for lunch.
So our heroes are back where they started. Well, this is a pretty pickle.
Not really. It's more of a kumquat.
Be with us next time for Boris Lends a Hand or Count Your Fingers. Last time, you remember, our heroes were well on their way to the Missouri Moose Convention when they entered a tunnel and started an argument with the Daylight Express, which was going the other way. As a result, by the time the train was stopped, they were clear back in Frostbite Falls.
Looks like we'll miss meeting the Missouri Meese.
What we need is a first-class travel agent.
Oh, lucky you got one.
Hey, who are you?
Allow me to introduce myself. Tradewind Latour, Demon Travel Agent. Visit the famous garden spots of the world. The Bastille, Lubyanka Prison, Alcatraz, Wormwood Scrubs.
Garden spots? Those are all jails.
They can't be too much fun.
No, but the stopover privileges are great.
Yeah?
You get to stay 20 years in each one.
Well, then, maybe...
No, we just want to go to Missouri, Mr. Latour.
Of course you do. Now, here's your itinerary.
Huh?
Here's where you go.
Oh,
First to Lake Laos.
that's Lake Louise.
My mistake. Then on up the seaway to Greenland. Then Paris, Nome, Nairobi, Pismo Beach.
Wait a minute. Couldn't we go straight to Missouri?
Foolish boy. It's all the same price.
What price?
Only $10,000 each.
Well, we don't have quite that much.
Okay, cut out Pismo Beach and make it $99.50.
As a matter of fact, we have just 38 cents.
Like you say, you go straight to Missouri.
But how?
On board Mississippi River luxury liner, the SS Huck Finn.
A luxury liner. Sounds great. We'll take it.
And in just a little while, Boris waved bye-bye to our heroes as they started downriver on the SS Huck Finn.
This is a luxury liner?
What do you want for 38 cents? The Queen Mary?
Heavens, no, there's hardly enough room for us.
Well, Boris, they're on their way to Peaceful Valley.
Yes, Natasha. Now we got to beat them there.
Yeah, but how do we do it?
Observe, behind this conveniently placed bush.
Boris, it's a rocket.
You said it, kiddo, and I built it myself, personally by hand.
How does it work?
First, we get in seats.
Right,
Then we figure angle of fire.
right.
Let's see. 2 times 2 is 4. 6 times 13 is 78. 7 times 8 is 54. Put down 7, carry 2. Aha! 32 degrees.
But Boris,
Then we light fuse.
but Boris,
And we're off.
but Boris, 7 times 8 isn't 54.
No.
Is 56.
Natasha, you know what that means?
No.
Now you know what that means.
But the wily Boris was not to be defeated so easily, and soon was reclining in cushioned ease.
Faster, Natasha. Hop, 2, 3, 4. Hop, 2, 3, 4.
Are you sure this is good for the figure, Boris?
Natasha, by the time we get to Missouri, you will have figure just like M&M's.
Marilyn Monroe?
No, Minnie Mouse.
Well, old man River don't say nothing, don't do nothing. He just keeps rolling along. And so in just a few days, our boys found their tiny raft floating right up to the shore of Peaceful Valley, Missouri.
Gee, Bullwinkle, it looks as if we were expected. I only have one question, Bullwinkle.
Well, that's all we have time for anyway.
Where's all the people?
A good question, that, for there weren't any in sight. But though our heroes couldn't see anyone, it was soon apparent that somebody saw them. For from every window and doorway in town, sinister-looking weapons began to appear, all aimed right at our boys. Don't miss our next creepy episode,
Featuring genuine creeps.
Mud-Munching Moose or Bullwinkle Bites the Dust. Well, our boys finally made it to Peaceful Valley, Missouri, and found it to be a lovely town, particularly with a public square all decorated like this.
There's just one thing that bothers me, Bullwinkle.
You're lucky I got dozens.
Where's all the people?
Hey, that's right.
Oh, if Bullwinkle had only known.
What do you think, Caleb? Be they Floys or bean't they Floys?
Well, my feuding guide don't list no Floys with antlers, but we better not take chances.
You mean we plug 'em anyways?
You bet.
What if we're wrong?
We can always apologize.
Caleb, you ought to be with the United Nations.
Who's feuding with them?
Seems like they're near everybody.
And meanwhile, on the other side of the square,
Speak up, Ephraim. Be they hatfuls or bean't they hatfuls?
Well, that air biggin looks like a hat rack.
That's close enough. Ready, aim.
of course, our heroes were blissfully unaware of the danger that threatened them until the sharp-eyed squirrel suddenly remarked,
Bullwinkle, these decorations aren't for the Bam Bams at all.
They're not.
No, sir. They're commemorating the 150th anniversary of the feud.
The feud?
You know, it's like a war between families.
In Minnesota, we call that in-law trouble.
No, look here. In memory of 150 years of bloodshed. Happy anniversary.
Who's feuding?
Says here it's the Hatfuls against the Floys.
Here's kind of a cute one, Rock. There's no feud like an old feud.
but our friends wouldn't have been so carefree if they had known that Peaceful Valley was in reality a kind of no-man's land in the most ferocious feud ever fought.
Try fit.
Yes, ever fit.
While we're waiting, I'll take your picture, Bullwinkle.
Okay, how's this pose?
Great. Wait till I set the lens opening.
Well, hurry up and shoot. I can't hold this all day.
Let's see. F8 at 100th, or is it 150th?
Come on, shoot.
What?
I said shoot, shoot. Now, that's what I call service.
Bullwinkle, we're right in the middle of the feud.
And what's more,
What's more?
I didn't get my picture took.
We gotta get out of town, Bullwinkle.
But we just got here.
Yeah, but if we stay here much longer, we're gonna stay here much longer.
I guess you're right.
And our boys crawled under a hail of lead toward the outskirts of town.
Ratting at it, Caleb. Can't you hit 'em?
Nope, them fellers must have charmed lives.
You think they was TV heroes?
But just then, a messenger ran in.
Hey, Pa,
Speak up, Clive. Don't mumble.
the flies is shooting at them fellers, too.
Well, then they must be on our side. Hold your fire.
And at the same time, on the other side of the square,
Hey, Front, the hatfuls are shooting at those fellers, too.
Then they must be on our side. Stop shooting!
and so a deathly hush suddenly fell over Peaceful Valley.
Couldn't you make it some other kind of hush?
Now's our chance, Bullwinkle. We gotta make a dash for safety.
And there it is now, Rock, the city limit.
Careful, Bullwinkle. It may be a trap.
A trap?
Somebody may be hiding behind that sign.
Nonsense. Who could hide behind that itty-bitty sign?
We could!
It's the hatful.
Didn't I see you fellers stuffed in a telephone booth one time?
They're not on our side, Pa. Look at it. They ain't got no beards.
But I'm growing a beard.
When did you start?
Just a minute ago.
How about you?
I'm a little young.
Too bad we're feuding with the youngs, too. Take 'em away, Caleb.
Where to?
Where else? Take 'em to Devil Dan Hatful himself.
Oh, not Devil Dan.
Couldn't we be easy on him and shoot him right here?
Be with us next time when we'll see Devil Dan Thinks It Over or Feud for Thought.
And if you happen to have a beard handy, send it in.
Last time, you remember, our heroes found themselves in the middle of an old Missouri feud between the Hatfuls and the Floyds. They were shot at by both sides, and when they tried to get out of town, were captured by a gang of Hatfuls.
A hatful of hatfuls, you might say.
If you were in a joking mood.
Which we aren't.
Now they are being taken before the leader of the Hatful clan, Devil Dan Hatful himself.
Or you can take the easy way out and jump off in this here cliff.
I think we'll see Mr. Dan instead.
I was just trying to be helpful.
Anything I don't trust, it's a helpful, hostile hatful.
I'm glad you said that.
Why?
I couldn't have.
Where is this Devil Dan?
Right through this here doorway.
Sure enough, on the other side of the door, Devil Dan Hatful was... Say, you're not Devil Dan. You're...
Consign ye, you varmin. Don't be for sneaking up on me deady ways.
But you're really...
Really who, Flatlander?
Really, Devil Dan! Devil Dan!
You better believe it, buddy. Who be that?
It be Caleb, Devil Dan. I be bringing a couple of strangers.
Who be ye breeby he? Oh boy, this cornpone dialect is tough. Who be ye bringing?
A moose and a squirrel.
Moose and squirrel. Well, come here.
And our heroes entered the shack to find themselves staring straight at the barrel of a long rifle.
And what's worse, it's staring back.
Are you Devil Dan?
Couldn't you tell by the beard?
Yeah, that's a real ugly mess of chin spinach, all right.
Yeah, but that voice, I could swear.
Better not, Rock.
Well, it's been nice meeting you. Goodbye now.
Goodbye? You mean you're going to stand us up against a wall outside and blast us?
Of course not.
No.
I stand you against wall inside and blast you.
Well, that's more like it.
You're really going to do it?
Of course, his old mountain custom, you know. On top of old Smoky, all covered with curls, I'm shooting with rifles at mooses and squirrels, with a 1 and a 2 and a... Oh, fish fudge, the telephone machine. Devil Dan Hatful, the mountain troubadour.
I want to speak to that nincompoop, Boris Badenoff.
Nincompoop, who is this?
Fearless leader. Who's this?
Nincompoop.
Have you made contact with moose and squirrel yet?
No, but I'm just about to.
Remember, Badenoff, they must be kept safe and sound until I arrive.
Till you arrive?
Jawohl. You didn't think I'd let you handle anything this big alone, did you?
You mean I got to treat them, you'll pardon the expression, nice?
Correct.
And so when Boris turned to our heroes again...
Okay, Mr. Hatful. We're ready.
Never mind the blindfold. I'm nearsighted anyways.
Todd and dink my naps. Couldn't you fellas take a little mountain-type joke?
Joke?
Sure. See, the gun isn't even loaded. Now.
And while our heroes ponder the sudden change in Devil Dan Hatful, many thousands of miles away, a sinister black missile is being raised to its launching pad.
Beginning countdown. 30 seconds.
Are you sure you want to make this trip, fearless leader?
Of course, Professor. We mustn't leave Badenoff alone a minute longer than we have to.
Very well, but I didn't think you...
You aren't supposed to think, Professor. Just get this thing off the ground, or else.
Yes, fearless leader.
4, 3, 2, 1.
And with a roar, the sleek black missile zoomed upward. Its destination, Rocky and Bullwinkle. Don't miss our next exciting episode, Calling Fearless Leader or Whistle for the Missile. Well, our heroes are all tangled up in another plot. This one has to do with a feud between the Hatfuls and the Floyds. They've been captured by the leader of one of the clans, Devil Dan Hatful.
Who looks remarkably like Boris Bedinoff.
The disguised Boris got a shock when a telephone call from fearless leader told him to keep our heroes safe and sound until he arrived. That's why we find the boys having lunch with their worst enemy.
Have some more chicken. Plenty more where that came from.
Yeah, where'd it come from?
From an egg.
No, from neighbor's chicken coop.
But a few thousand miles away from this love feast, fearless leader was preparing to make the trip to Peaceful Valley in the fastest way possible by rocket.
We mustn't leave Badenoff in charge too long. Fire one.
But, fearless leader, I think...
Don't think, just do what I tell you.
Well, you're the boss.
You're so right.
And in a moment, the sleek black missile was zooming skyward.
Professor, it was a successful shot.
Perfect. He's in orbit right now.
In orbit? But that means he can't get down.
It was true, the missile had gone into orbit and was circling the Earth at tremendous speed.
Professor, what were you thinking of?
Nothing. Fearless leader told me not to.
Come along.
But I obeyed orders of fearless leader.
Congratulations. You will be the most loyal Pottsylvanian we ever executed.
But let's draw the curtain on this painful scene and return to Peaceful Valley, where Devil Dan is growing impatient.
Also whiskers.
If you'll excuse me a second, I got to go slap the hogs.
Gee, he's a peach.
I think he's a double-crossing crooked killer.
Yeah, but for a double-crossing crooked killer, he's a peach.
Meanwhile, in the other room...
Boris, why you're beating your head against the wall?
I'm not used to being nice to people. I got to hurt somebody.
But why yourself?
I was handy.
But at that moment, Boris heard a familiar voice.
Let me down from this contraption, or I'll have the head of every man, woman, and child in the country.
Natasha, did you hear what I heard?
I hope not.
Bullwinkle, did you see what I saw?
No, my antlers don't fit through the window.
Come on outside, Bullwinkle. Here it comes again.
Yes, the missile containing Fearless Leader was orbiting over Peaceful Valley every few minutes.
Down from your head will roll from bone to bone and coast to coast, and you're going to be among the first.
Bullwinkle, that's an orbiting satellite.
Looks more like a feller in a rocket.
It was, and he's stuck up there. He'll keep going on forever.
Well, maybe he likes to travel.
Yeah, but he may starve up there.
Well, that's different. Let's get a big cannon.
You're not going to shoot him down.
Nope, I'm gonna shoot a chicken leg up to him.
What?
Sort of a guided drumstick.
Well, I got a better idea.
You usually do.
I'm going to fly up there and stop that missile.
That's a better idea.
Just a short distance away, in a cold, clammy duck blind...
Hush, something's coming over now, Clem.
I'll shoot it, Harlow.
Sure don't look much like a duck.
What do you mean?
Ain't got no wings, got no feathers, and it's 50 feet long.
But on t'other hand,
What?
it's the first thing that's flew over today.
You're right, Clem.
Oh, Vera, you clumsy fools, I'll have you drawn and quartered.
You know something, Clem?
What's that, Harlow?
Didn't sound like a duck, neither.
Meanwhile, back at the shack...
Ready, Bullwinkle?
As ever.
Ellie!
And the plucky squirrel hurtled high into the air just as the missile came into view once again. But Fearless Leader, thinking Rocky was an American anti-missile missile, began to unlimber a fearsome weapon.
Jawohl, this is my anti-missile.
Oh, boy, watch next time for Rocky Takes the High Road or Missile in the Thistle. Well, last time, Bullwinkle had tossed Rocky high into the air in a desperate attempt to intercept the misguided missile, which was carrying, of all people, Fearless Leader himself. But the evil-minded villain thought Rocky was an American anti-missile missile, and so began to assemble his secret weapon, an anti-missile missile.
Let's see. Put tab C in slot A, bend flap G. Donnerwetter, this is the last secret weapon I ever got out of a cereal box.
But the plucky squirrel, unaware of his danger, caught up with the speeding satellite and tried to slow it down.
Boris, that is our fearless leader up there.
You were expecting Werner von Braun?
Oh, I hope he gets done all right.
Me too, because if he doesn't get down, I'll be the fearless leader, and I... Oh, boy!
Boris, where are you going?
I got to stop that squirrel. He's ruining my career.
And Boris, anxious for promotion, dashed out of the house.
If I can just keep fearless leader orbiting from now on, I get to wear monocle.
High above, Rocky was pushing against the nose cone, trying to slow it down, but to no avail. And inside, Fearless Leader had finished assembling his anti-missile and was aiming it directly at the unwitting squirrel. Fortunately, at that moment, Rocky happened to spot an old lady far below him who was trying to cross the street. Of course, for a real live TV hero, helping old ladies across the street comes before anything else in the world. So Rocky left his post just as fearless leader pulled the trigger. Of course, he missed. But the recoil was enough to stop the forward motion of the satellite. And can any of you guess what that meant?
Any Pottsylvanian schoolchild could tell you. When the progressive inertial momentum of an orbiting vehicle is diminished, the gravitational declination increases as pi times the quantity v over h.
Which means?
I fall down.
And indeed, the missile dropped like a stone. Meanwhile, Rocky had just finished helping the old lady across the street.
Is this where you want to go, ma'am?
You said it. I mean, yes, indeed, you do the deedy, little fellow.
You sure got a deep voice for an old lady.
I know. I've been feeling low for days.
Oh, I'm sorry. You sure this is where you want to go?
Believe me, I'm in exactly the right spot.
And he was.
Hokey smoke!
We lose more old ladies that way.
But to Rocky's surprise, when the door of the wrecked satellite opened, who should come out but Devil Dan Hatful, followed closely by a sinister figure wearing a monocle.
You know, I don't think that Devil Dan is ever going to stop feuding. Maybe we ought to go see the head of the other family.
You mean Felonious Floyd?
Yeah, maybe he'll stop the feud.
Meanwhile, inside Devil Dan's shack...
So you were trying to get rid of me, eh, Badenoff?
Who, me, dear old boss man?
Stop drooling on my insteps, Badenoff.
Me trying to get rid of you, dear old chiefy boy? I wouldn't dream of such a thing.
Then take off that monocle. Now that I have arrived, we proceed with part 2 of my plan. You have Moose and Squirrel here?
Of course, fearless leader.
Where?
Right. Ooh, they were here a second ago.
Boris, darling, there they go.
Quick, bring them back here, Badenoff. Dead or alive?
I got a choice.
And so it was that as our heroes were hurrying for the cabin of Felonious Floyd, they suddenly heard an ominous sound.
Bullwinkle, those are bloodhounds. They picked up your scent. You know what that means?
It means I got a hole in my pocket.
And the great dogs came nearer and nearer, followed by Boris Badenoff, who was loaded for bear.
Or moose, as the case may be.
Be sure to be with us next time for Dollars and Cents or Putting on the Dog. Let's see if we can make head or tail of our story so far. Chapter 1, Bullwinkle was invited to a convention of the Missouri Mooses. Meese. Thank you. Chapter 2, when he and Rocky arrived, they found themselves in the middle of a feud between the Hatfuls and the Floyds.
Couldn't we sort of skip over this part?
Chapter 3, they were seized by the Hatfuls.
Very painful, too.
And taken to the head of the clan, Devil Dan Hatful, who looked a lot like you-know-who.
Say the name.
Boris Badenoff.
You said it.
And in Chapter 4, Boris's superior, fearless leader himself, showed up just as our heroes made their getaway. Everybody understand now?
Yes.
Then explain it to me.
But little or no explanation was needed when Rocky heard a mournful sound behind them.
Uh-oh, that sounds like trouble.
And he's got a bad cold, too.
Bullwinkle, those are bloodhounds.
But just then, the sharp-eyed squirrel saw a tiny house ahead with a sign in front that said, Felonious Floyd, Revenuers and Republicans, keep out.
Bullwinkle, this is Felonious Floyd's house.
I heard the man, Rock.
Well, maybe he can stop this terrible feud.
And our heroes dashed up to the door.
Who's there?
Bullwinkle, that voice. Do you think...
Not very often. Why?
But just then, the door swung open.
What'll it be, strangers?
You're Felonious Floyd?
Don't I look like Felonious Floyd?
You look more like a dry mop.
We were running away from Devil Dan Hatful.
Yeah, and come to think of it, you look an awful lot like him.
Actual, we're cousins, twice removed.
Twice removed?
Once to Sing Sing, once to Alcatraz.
I don't like this a bit, Bullwinkle.
I agree. He must have terrible writers.
Sorry to have troubled you, Mr. Floyd, but we better be going.
It's all right. Drop in any time.
Like when?
Like right now.
And as Boris pulled the lever, an instant later, the bloodhounds showed up, dragging fearless leader with them.
Welcome, old bossman body boy.
Badenoff, you are on both sides of the feud?
Certainly. This way, I'm a Hatful. This way, I'm a Floyd.
Congratulations, Badenoff. You win the Pottsylvania Two-Faced Medal for double dealing.
Oh, boy, that makes 94 medals.
Wunderschön.
6 more and I can trade them in for a second-hand yo-yo.
Badenoff, you're a lucky, lucky spy.
Meanwhile, our heroes were lying stunned in a vegetable cellar underneath the house.
Where am I?
In a vegetable cellar. Didn't you hear the man?
What? Speak up.
You got carrots in your ears.
What?
I said you got carrots in your ears.
I can't hear a thing. I got these carrots in my ears.
But carrots in the ears was the least of Bullwinkle's problems, for at that moment the house was being surrounded by hateful hatfuls.
Mighty nice of them strangers to lead us right to the floor house.
What are we fixing to do, Hadley?
We're going to use little old Orvy on them.
Oh, no! Not little Orvy! I'm as mean as they come, Hadley, but that's gone a little too far.
Newt, this is no time to get the collywobbles. Bring up little Orvy.
And with Hadley Hatful directing them, the clan wheeled up little Orvy, an enormous muzzle-loading Civil War cannon.
What do we load it with, Hadley?
Anything that's handy.
And so the Hatfuls filled little Orvy with scrap iron, broken bottles, old shoes, red pepper, and carpet tack.
I'll drop in this anvil just to give it a little body.
In the short while, little Orvy was ready to be fired. The fuse was lit, the Hatfuls scurried for cover, and then as the fuse burned its last quarter-inch, Bullwinkle Moose stuck his head up out of the root cellar directly in front of the muzzle. Don't miss our next episode. One of our meese is missing, or heads you lose. Well, last time we met little Orvy, a huge Civil War cannon, which is now being used as a siege gun in the feud between the Hatfuls and the Floys. Little do the hateful Hatfuls know that there isn't a Floy within miles, for the only people in the house are fearless leader and our old nemesis, Boris Badenov, who has merely disguised himself as Felonious Floy.
Or devil then hatful, as the case may be.
But the two villains are unaware of the presence of little Orvy, as Boris says.
I don't want to pry, fearless leader, old superior baby boy, but how come I got to wear this thin fuzz and talk with cornpone accent?
Because at last, Pennsylvania is close to having the ultimate weapon with which we can rule the world.
Sounds yummy. What is it?
I have here a special high-level, top-secret, confidential sketch of the ultimate weapon. Can you be trusted, Badenov?
Can I be trusted? I swear it.
Then uncross your fingers.
Force of habit, bossman.
Very well. Here is the ultimate weapon.
That's a weapon?
That's the weapon.
But that's just a derby hat.
Not just a derby hat, Badenov. This is the Kirward Derby.
The Kirward Derby?
Quiet, you fool.
The Kirward Derby?
Jawohl.
And fearless leader told Boris the legend of the fabulous bowler. The Kirward Derby had first been owned by a cave dweller many eons ago who put it on and said,
Pardon me, my dear. I've got something to do.
Like what?
I'm going to invent the wheel.
And he did. Later on, it was owned by a man named Aristotle, who one day in his bath cried,
Eureka! I have found it!
You found Aristotle's law of displacement and specific gravity?
No, you idiot. I found the soap.
The Kirward Derby was worn by Philip of Macedonia when he conquered the world, and by Genghis Khan when he conquered the world, and by Julius Caesar when he conquered the world, and by Elvis Presley when he... Oh, never mind. It disappeared for a time, but its last known owner was a Princeton college professor who put it on and said...
Of course, E equals MC squared. Why didn't I think of that before?
Yes, the Kirward Derby turns anyone who wears it into the smartest man in the world.
So if we get Derby,
I wear it.
and Pennsylvania outsmarts everybody in world.
Correct.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go get it.
There's just one little hitch.
Uh-oh.
It takes somebody special to find the Kirward Derby.
That's me, boss man.
Somebody with a built-in talent.
That's me.
He must be the stupidest bobblehead in the world.
That's me, Dick. Who that?
This is who that.
But that's Moose, that idiotic Moose Bullwinkle.
Right. He is the dumbest creature in the world, so he is the only one who can lead us to the Kirward Derby.
That means he's worth millions to us.
Billions. Where is he, Badenov?
He's right in the cellar, fearless leader.
Then who is that about to get his head blown off?
Yes, right outside the window, Bullwinkle had poked his head out of the root cellar, right in front of the gaping muzzle of little Orvy.
If the moose dies, our plan dies.
How about that?
And if the plan dies, Pennsylvania dies.
How about that?
And if Pennsylvania dies, you die.
How about that?
And Boris grabbed a club, leaned out of the window, and swung hard at Bullwinkle's head just as little Orvy went off with a roar. When the smoke cleared, nothing was to be seen of the house or the villains or of our heroes either. Is this the end of everything?
Nope, just this episode.
Be with us next time for Bullwinkle Makes His Bid or Going, Gun. In our last episode, the hateful Hatfuls had just fired a cannon named Little Orvy at the house belonging to Polonius Floy. Now, if you've been watching that episode, you would have known the whole plot. But as it is, let's go back a little so you can catch up.
Be careful, mister. This there's mighty hard on a cannon gun.
Inside the house, before the cannon went off, Fearless Leader had just explained the whole foul plot to Boris Badenov, alias Devil Dan Hatful.
Alias Felonious Floyd.
What, you're the head of both families?
Sure.
But that way you can't possibly win.
I always look on the bright side.
Hmm?
I can't possibly lose either.
Achtung, Badenov.
Yes, Fearless Leader.
This is what we are after.
A derby hat?
But it wasn't just a derby hat. This was the legendary Kirward Derby, whose wearer became the smartest man in the world. The Kirward Derby had been worn by all the brilliant thinkers of history, men like Sir Isaac Newton.
I say, that apple bashed my bowler. That proves the theory of gravitation.
It had been worn by Galileo.
Well, we all know the sun, she goes around the earth. Just like... Hey, what am I talk? The earth, she goes around the sun.
And now Fearless Leader was hot on the trail of the Kirward Derby. There was only one hitch. It had to be found by the stupidest creature alive.
You cold?
Badenov, the moose is right in front of that cannon.
So Boris grabbed a club, smashed Bullwinkle, and drove him down into the cellar just as the gun went off. I say, just as the gun went off. All right, what's the matter?
Little Harvey gets temperamental sometimes.
Well, we can't go on with our story till it goes off again.
Now keep your hair on, stranger. Zeke here will find the trouble. Go on, Zeke.
Oh, here it is. The fuse isn't all the way in like it...
And that's where we wound up last time. The gun fired.
Me and Rocky still in the cellar.
And us up a tree.
In the next county.
Devil Dan, what be you doing here?
I be keeping an eye on you, Ephraim.
I'm Zeke.
Don't argue about details. Mosey on back to next county and bring me that moose.
Right.
And Ephraim,
Zeke.
bring back doctor, too.
You bet. He'll have you cured of the glanders in no time. Glanders? That is a disease of horses. Yep. That's the kind of doctor we got, too.
But we got busted backs and sprained ankles.
That may be what you got, but I know what he'll cure you of.
Glanders.
Glanders.
Oh, boy.
He's also good on split fetlocks and...
Get out of here.
Meanwhile, back at the root cellar...
Is the coast clear, Bullwinkle?
I can't see quite that far, Rock, but there's nothing around closer to hand.
Good. Let's get out of here.
Aren't we going to see Mr. Floyd?
No, sir. I don't think we'll ever get those two families to stop feuding, Bullwinkle.
And besides, he's gone.
You mean he's not in his house?
He may be, but it's gone, too.
And our heroes dashed off.
You know, I wonder whatever happened to that Missouri Meese convention.
I think that convention was just a bit of jiggery-pokery.
They all are, but only after the business meetings are over. Pretty good, Rock. I said, Rock? Rocky, where are you?
Oh, my sainted Aunt Agnes. Rocky has disappeared.
Well, now they've gone too far.
Well, what are you going to do?
I'm gonna disappear, too.
Be sure to see our next episode, The Vanishing American, or No Moose is Good Moose. It's a well-known fact that the hat makes the man, be he rich man, poor man, spaceman, thief, soldier, sailor, or Indian chief. It's the hat that does it. Just imagine what would happen if an admiral looked like this, or an astronaut like this, or a poor man like this.
Ridiculous.
Yes, hats are important, all right, but no hat in history ever caused the controversy that this one did, for this is the Kirward Derby, which makes anyone who wears it the smartest person in the world, and it's being eagerly sought by Boris Badenov and his fearless leader.
Once my head is under that hat, Badenov...
You'll be smart.
What?
I mean smarter, dear old chiefy boy, honey pot, superior officer Dow.
Badenov, you're making my cuffs soggy.
Sorry.
And what happens when your fearless leader is all-powerful?
Pottsylvania rules the world.
Hail, Pottsylvania! Hail to the black and the blue! Hail, Pottsylvania! Sneaky and crooked, true and true. Down with the good guys, up with the boss. Under the sign of the Triple Cross. Oh, hail, Pottsylvania! Hail, hail, hail! Himmelwerfer, was ist los?
What else? It's hail, and you asked for it.
There's only one hitch in the villain's plan to find the lost Derby. It must be found by the stupidest creature alive, which up to our last episode was Bullwinkle Moose. But then his hero, Rocky Squirrel, suddenly disappeared, and a moment later, so did Bullwinkle. Well, it seems there's nothing left to do but start another series.
You wouldn't dare.
Rocky, what's up?
I am, and so is Bullwinkle.
Yes, our two heroes were dangling from trees high above the ground where they had been snatched by a couple of cunning traps laid in their path.
Yeah, but who'd want to trap us?
Especially upside down.
We uns would, Moose.
Who, you uns?
We uns is hatfuls, that's who uns.
But why trap us? Us?
'Cause we got to take y'all to Devil Dan.
Both of us?
No, not y'all, just y'all.
And one of the hatfuls leveled his gun upward.
Look out, Bullwinkle!
He got me!
No, he didn't, Bullwinkle. It was your rope. Your rope.
I know, and I'm at the end of it too, Rock.
Grab 'em, boys.
And the jubilant hatfuls lugged the dazed Bullwinkle into the woods while Rocky fumed helplessly high above.
I can't get the trap off my foot. Well, there's only one thing to do.
And the plucky squirrel zoomed straight upward to the end of his rope. The cord drew tighter and tighter. And finally a tree limb snapped and Rocky was free, except for a 10-foot branch trailing behind him.
Hang on, Bullwinkle, I'm coming.
Down the aerial speedster flashed lower and lower.
Run, Zeke, run. Here comes that pesky squirrel.
Well, I got just a thing for Pesky Squirrel.
What's that?
My pesky squirrel gun. I'll stay here, and when he goes past, I'll let him have it.
Sure enough, when Rocky flashed by, Zeke rose to his feet and leveled his rifle. Unfortunately for him, Zeke had forgotten about the trailing tree branch. Well, the branch saved Rocky that time, but then as he approached Bullwinkle's captors...
Hey, you guys, drop that moose!
The branch caught in the fork of another tree, and Rocky was snapped down and out of sight.
Well, that takes care of him, Alfred. Let's go.
I could sure use a squirrel tail for my car aerial.
There's no time. Let's go.
And the hatfuls hurried through the woods, bearing the bewildered Bullwinkle toward a sinister hut where a rather unpleasant reception committee awaited him. Don't miss our next episode, Hello, My Booby, or Pleased to Beat You. In our last episode, Bullwinkle had been moose-napped by a band of hateful hatfuls. Rocky tried to follow him, but ran into a little trouble with a tree. Now Bullwinkle is being carried into a sinister hut deep in the woods where a rather unpleasant reception committee awaits him.
Okay, fearless leader, there is Moose. How do we get him to lead us to Kirward Derby?
Very simple, bad enough. We simply brainwash him.
Sure enough, the hapless moose was taken into a small room and left there with 3 expert brainwashers. Hours went by, and finally the door swung open.
Moose is brainwashed. Yes?
Moose is brainwashed, no.
Why is this?
Not enough brain to wash.
I sure feel clean-headed, though.
Bad enough, we must get Moose under our control.
Easy, boss man. Looky here.
What's that?
Beautiful dreamer hypnotism kit.
How does it work?
First, I use little Daisy Buzzer to get his attention. Then I use whirling disc to focus his eyes. Then is put on special Google glasses. Look deep into his eyes and say, sleep, you are going to sleep. Pretty good, huh, boss? Boss, fearless leader. Hey, wake up!
What were you saying?
Ain't my hypnotism...
It'll never work.
Oh, boy. Let me give it a try, fearless leader. What have we got to lose?
Billions of dollars and world domination.
I mean, aside from that.
Oh, very well. Go ahead.
And Boris slipped into the room with Bullwinkle.
Hey, it's Mr. Devil Dan.
Oop. You kidding, Moose? I be felonious Floy, I be.
I would have swore you had a beard just a second ago.
No, I was just looking on you upside down like this.
Oh.
Now, attention. Watch the... Hey, Moose, watch the disc.
But it was too late. Bullwinkle was already in a deep trance.
You couldn't do this to me. I paid $2.98 for this thing. You got to watch the whirling disc like this. You got to look at the glasses when I say sleep. Sleep. You're going to...
And so an hour later, when an impatient, fearless leader opened the door of the room, he saw 2 figures sitting in a trance.
Thousand Donner, bad enough. Wake up.
Please, Mama, not in the head. Oh, it's you, fearless leader.
Get to work on that moose.
Right away, bossman. You are going to look for a derby.
Yeah, derby.
Meanwhile, back in the woods, Rocky had finally succeeded in getting the trap off his foot.
There! Now I'm free to follow Bullwinkle. But how?
The sharp-eyed squirrel noticed that the bark had been knocked off several trees.
Aha! That's where Bullwinkle's antlers must have scraped against them.
And with an eye like an eagle, the plucky squirrel went from tree to tree until he reached the end of the trail.
Whoop!
Looking for somebody, stranger?
Was that you making these marks on the trees?
I cannot tell a lie. I did it with my little hatchet.
Say, what's your name?
Washington?
I'll bet your first name is George.
No, Martha.
Well, my mistake. I was looking for a moose.
Oh, him? He's in there.
Fearlessly, he zoomed through the window of the sinister cottage only to find it empty.
Where can he be?
Where indeed? For at that moment, Bullwinkle was walking in a trance just ahead of Boris and Fearless Leader.
Derby, I must find a derby.
It's working, fearless leader.
And there's the derby now.
Now?
Already?
So soon? Has Bullwinkle really ended his quest? We'll find out next time in Under Bullwinkle's Bowler or The Wide Open Spaces. Well, last time it looked as if the search for the Kirward Derby had ended. For in one of his better fiendish plans, Boris hypnotized Bullwinkle and sent him off to look for the fabulous bowler.
You must look for a derby. A derby.
A derby, a derby.
And in just a little while, Bullwinkle stopped and shouted,
There's the derby now.
See, fearless leader? When I fiendish plan 'em, they stay fiendish plan.
But look what derby he's pointing at.
Roller derby. Uh-oh. Try again, Moose.
And the hypnotized Bullwinkle tried his best. After a long hike, he pointed out the Kentucky Derby. And after a still longer hike, he pointed out the Brown Derby. But when the trio returned to Peaceful Valley, he still hadn't found the Kirward Derby.
And what's more, look who's coming.
Sure enough, high above them, Rocky Squirrel was blazing a streak in the sky as he sought his pal.
Bullwinkle, where are you?
Did somebody call?
Quick, he's coming out of it.
Listen, Moose. When you wake up, you will look for the Kirward Derby. The Kirward Derby. Do you understand?
No, but I'll do it anyways.
Good. Now let's go before that nosy squirrel shows up.
No sooner had the villains hidden themselves than Rocky zoomed into the scene.
Bullwinkle! Bullwinkle, it's you!
It is?
Don't you recognize me?
I don't even recognize me.
I'm Rocky.
You sure are.
Don't you know me?
The voice is familiar, but I don't place the goggles.
I'm Rocky, your pal. We've been buddies for years.
What have you done for me lately?
Oh, come out of it, Bullwinkle.
Rocky, it's you.
Boy, you look like you're in a trance.
Yeah, but don't I always?
Something awful funny's going on in Peaceful Valley, Bullwinkle.
Really? I haven't heard a laugh yet.
What do you think?
I think I ought to get a derby.
What?
I don't know what it is. I just gotta have a derby.
It's working, fearless leader. You can always count on Hotshot Badenoff.
This is no time to buy a hat, Bullwinkle.
I can't help it, Rock. I got to find me a derby.
And Bullwinkle, still under Boris's control, began a hunt for a hat. And the first place he went to, of course, was a hat store.
So that's where we find the Kirward Derby, eh, Badenoff?
But
Dozens of our smartest secret agents have combed the world for that derby. What chance do you think a stupid moose has of finding it in an ordinary hat store?
not very good, eh?
No chance at all, Mr. Not-So-Hotshot Badenoff.
Fearless leader.
What?
Give us a little smile.
Schweinhund!
Forget it.
You know, I think we shorten your name, Badenoff, from Hotshot to just Shot.
Meanwhile, inside the store, Bullwinkle was trying on hat after hat. None of them fit very well.
I can't understand it, sir. I've tried every size derby we have.
What size do you usually take, Bullwinkle?
Regular moose size.
What's that?
7 and 5/32.
7 and 5/32.
Unless I just got a haircut, then it's 7 and 3/32.
But nobody carries that size hat. It's ridiculous.
No derby, huh?
Now, wait. Just a minute. Now, there's one hat that's been on our shelves for years and years. Maybe.
And the clerk climbed a high ladder and from a dusty shelf took down a hat box covered with cobwebs.
Does it have the size marked on it?
Let's see. Nope, just the name of it.
What's that?
As far as I can make out, it says the Kirward Derby.
Kirward Derby?
The Kirward Derby?
You notice kind of an echo in here?
Oh, don't miss the next episode if you can. Or can't. Or... Anyway, it's called $1 Million Carton or Jack in the Box. Well, there it is. Within that dusty box lies the fabulous Kirward Derby, whose wearer becomes the smartest person in the whole world. And who's about to buy the Kirward Derby? None other than Bullwinkle Moose himself. And do you know who's the happiest man in the world about it? Boris Badenoff.
Don't shoot, fearless leader. Moose has found the Kirward Derby for us.
Well, Badenoff, you locked in again.
Sure. As soon as Moose gets Derby, we take it from him. Then we rule the world.
We?
You rule the world, old boss fella, baby doll.
Meanwhile, inside the hat shop...
Are you sure that's the right size, Bullwinkle?
It says right here, 7 and 5/32.
That's it. Now I'll just...
One moment, sir. That'll be $8 even.
$8?
Even.
We don't have $8 even.
If we had $8, it'd be odd.
Then I'm sorry. This box goes back on the shelf.
Badenoff, the moose must get that hat.
Leave it to me, fearless leader.
Gee, I sure wanted that derby, too.
Well, hello. Are you ready for your question on our Moose on the Street quiz?
Who are you?
Allow me to introduce myself. I'm your genial radio quizmaster, Art Looklater. Now, for $8 cash even, answer this one question. Who is buried in Grant's tomb?
Gee, I was reading about that just the other day. Do you know, Rock?
Sure, but I can't tell you. That'd be cheating.
Go ahead, I'm not listening.
Sorry, Bullwinkle.
Okay, I ask another question. For $8 even, tell me, do you know Planck's constant of quantum mathematics?
No.
That's right. No, you don't. Congratulations. Here's the $8 even.
Gee, thanks, Mr. Looklater.
Think nothing. Happy hat.
So, clutching Boris's $8 even in his hot little glove, Bullwinkle re-entered the hat shop and walked out with a hat box which, unbeknownst to our heroes, contained the fabulous Kirward Derby.
You haven't tried your new hat on, Bullwinkle.
See, that's right.
And the mighty Moose removed the baffling bowler from the box and put it on his head.
Say, it fits like a dream.
Yeah, and the square of the hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle is equal to the sum of the squares of the two sides.
What?
I said the orbits of periodic comets have an aphelion at a distance of 77 AU from the sun.
Bullwinkle, what are you saying?
I don't know. It's just that la plume débattante est sur le bureau de mon ongle.
Bullwinkle, you're talking French.
Oui.
But you don't know French.
Non, je ne parle pas français.
It was then that Rocky noticed thin trails of smoke coming out from underneath the bowler.
Hokey Smoke, your head's on fire.
And Rocky snatched the Kirward Derby off Bullwinkle's smoldering scalp and fanned his brow with it.
What happened, oh fearless leader?
It's obvious, Badenov. The moose simply was not used to thinking. His brain overheated.
Do we grab the Derby now?
As we say in Pottsylvania, why not?
But suppose they snitch on us to the police.
Dead men tell no tales.
What about dead mooses?
Also,
Hot diggity. You mean I get to steal Derby and knock off moose and squirrel?
Badenov, be my guest.
You know, oh fearless leader, you're really a fun villain.
And Boris whipped out a large battle axe and began to creep up on our unsuspecting friends. Meanwhile, back at the Moose...
There, you've stopped smoldering.
I was pretty hot stuff for a while there, though.
I wonder what happened.
I don't know. I just put this hat on and said, I just figured there's a fiendish plot against us, Rocky, and somebody's hiding behind that bush right now.
Well, Bullwinkle was smart enough, but was he soon enough? We'll find out next time in Two at One Blow or The Double Beheader. Last time, you remember, our heroes actually got hold of the Kirward Derby, which just happened to be the right size for Bullwinkle.
7 and 5/32.
And sure enough, when Bullwinkle put it on, he became an absolutely brilliant thinker.
In the Paleozoic era, the Cambrian period was followed by the Ordovician, Silurian, and Devonian.
What are you talking about?
Don't ask me.
Unfortunately, his brain wasn't used to it and began to overheat. So Rocky snatched off the derby and began to fan Bullwinkle's brow.
Tell me some more about the Paleozoic era, Bullwinkle.
Okay, but first, what is it?
Our boys didn't know that they were merely pawns in the fiendish game played by Boris and his fearless leader.
A game called Rule the World.
Any number can play.
Boris tried to sneak up on our friends carrying a battle axe.
We call it the Pottsylvanian equalizer.
But just as he was ready to swing at our heroes, Bullwinkle put the derby on and said...
The laws of probability indicate that we are pawns in a fiendish plot and that somebody's behind that bush right now.
Boris swung all right, but Bullwinkle's lightning brain allowed him to judge accurately just how far he'd have to duck, and Boris felled a tree instead, a tree which dropped right on fearless leader. The horrified Boris ran to his side.
Fearless leader, what have I done?
First, you have goofed another job. Second, you have shortened your life expectancy greatly.
No, wait, fearless leader. I'll get the Derby. Double-cross my heart.
Very well, Badenov. Your life is spared.
Because you are so kind-hearted and generous.
No, because my gun is jammed.
And Boris once more set off after our heroes.
Gee, Bullwinkle, how come you're so smart all of a sudden?
I just figured it out, Rocket, old chap. This is the legendary Kirward Derby I'm wearing. It imparts a vast amount of knowledge to its wearer.
Then you must be the smartest moose in the world.
Would you like me to explain Einstein's theory to you?
Sure.
Well...
But at that moment, a strong gust of wind blew the bowler off Bullwinkle's beam.
Go ahead, Bullwinkle.
Go ahead and what?
Explain Einstein's theory to me.
Well, I'd be glad to. Just one question.
Huh?
Who's Einstein?
Bullwinkle, your hat's gone.
Uh-oh.
And our heroes dashed after the disappearing derby.
There it is, Bullwinkle.
Sure enough, a derby lay in the middle of the path, but when Bullwinkle put it on...
It looks smaller somehow.
Does fit a little soon, don't it? Maybe it shrunk.
Oh, little did Bullwinkle know, for he had actually put on a counterfeit derby, and inside that hat, a small but powerful time bomb was ticking away the seconds. Oh, who could have done such a... oh, don't tell me.
I got to. He's in the script. Me, Boris Bedenov.
Yes,
Ta-da!
Yes, the villain had switched hats with Bullwinkle and now had possession of the fabulous Kirward Derby.
And now I put it on and I rule the world.
You and who else, Badenov?
Fearless leader. Say, did you ever get that gun fixed?
Yes.
That's what I was afraid of.
Yes, things really looked bad for Boris until a familiar female figure crept out of the bushes on hands and knees and took up a position behind Fearless Leader.
Welcome, Natasha, baby. Am I glad to see you?
Oh, no, Badenov. You don't trick me into looking around.
That was all right with Boris, for he pushed Fearless Leader over the kneeling Natasha and leaped on top of him, biting and scratching.
Oh, Boris, you are so brave.
When it's 2 against 1, I'm always brave.
And the two villains fought fiercely for possession of the all-powerful Kirward Derby. Oh, which one will win?
What does it matter? We're both bad guys.
Gee, that's right. Well, be with us next time for Flower in the Hat or the Rose Bowler. Well, last time, you remember, Boris Badenov had got hold of the Kirward Derby, whose wearer becomes the smartest man on earth.
At last, the world is mine.
But there was one other claimant for the diabolical derby in the person of Fearless Leader. He had the drop on Boris until Natasha crept up behind him and... But as the two villains pummeled each other furiously, one of them happened to kick the Kirward Derby, and unbeknownst to them, it rolled blithely downhill to where our friend sat dejectedly trying to get results from a bogus bowler.
You sure you don't feel smart, Bullwinkle?
Ask me something.
Okay. How many states in the United States?
I mean something easy.
Spell Mississippi.
Let's see. M-I-S-S-I-S-S.
Oh, Bullwinkle.
It's a long river, you know.
Something's wrong with your magic hat.
Oh, if Rocky only knew, for Boris had switched derbies with Bullwinkle and given him one that contained a small but effective time bomb.
Doesn't the hat say anything to you at all?
Just tick, tick, tick.
Well, that's no help.
Sure not.
But at that moment, the real Kirward Derby rolled past them. In a twinkling, Rocky had caught up with a hopping headpiece and brought it back to Bullwinkle.
Try me now, Rock.
What's the longest word in the English language?
Anti-disestablishmentarianism. What else?
That's it.
On the other hand, the longest word in Latin is honorificabilitudinatatibus.
Wow. You better take it off, Bullwinkle.
How come?
Your head's beginning to smoke again.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we don't need this one anymore.
And Rocky lightly tossed away the bomb-filled bowler. By chance, it skimmed through the air and landed right at the feet of Natasha Fatal.
I wear the derby.
No, I wear the derby.
Natasha, are you a loyal Pennsylvanian?
You know it, Fearless Leader.
Then your duty is clear.
Naturally, darling.
And Natasha picked up a nearby tree branch and clouted Fearless Leader.
Honey bun, you did it. But I thought you were loyal Pennsylvanian.
Right, Boris. And first duty of any Pennsylvanian is
double-cross everybody. And now for my moment of triumph, I put on derby and become smartest man in world.
Well, darling.
Well, I'm waiting. Something's bound to happen soon.
And it did.
Boris, it exploded.
Good guess.
What we do now?
You know, I've been thinking of applying for civil service job.
Boris, what civil service job could you do?
I could start civil wars.
And it looks like you're beginning already.
Sure enough, it seemed that Fearless Leader had recovered from his blow on the noggin.
Well, bad enough, I'm glad to find out at last what a renegade you are.
What a what?
Renegade, darling, is nice way of saying you're a fink.
Me?
But you won't be for long.
You are going to liquidate me after I saved your life?
Another trick, Badenov?
No, look at Derby. It was really a bomb.
So that is why you wanted to put it on first.
Of course, old boss man lover pumpkin lamby pie. I didn't want anything to happen to my beloved superior.
Stop drooling on my knuckles, Badenov. You're giving me rheumatism.
So you wouldn't knock off loyal old me, would you?
Badenov, are you really loyal?
If I'm not, may lightning strike me this minute. See, it missed me.
Very well, Badenov. I give you one more chance to get the Kirward Derby.
That's all I need. I got new plan.
What is it, darling?
I can't tell you.
It's too terrible to mention, yes?
No.
Then why can't you tell me?
Because episode is over.
So it is. Be with us next time for A Snitch in Time or The Thinking Man's Filter. Well, fortune in the form of a strong breeze smiled once again on our heroes as it practically blew the Kirward Derby into their laps. Now Bullwinkle is once more a mental marvel, the smartest moose in the world.
Or even in the US of A, which is bigger.
That is, when he's wearing the Derby.
The energy factors in electromagnetic quanta are proportionate to the wavelength of radiation.
But there's one drawback to wearing the Derby.
My brains keep overheating.
In the meantime, Boris and Natasha had been given one last chance to get the fabulous bowler back.
You see this box big enough?
Yes, fearless leader.
At noon, I send it to Pennsylvania with Kirward Derby inside.
Suppose I don't get Derby.
I send it back with you inside.
But I wouldn't be able to breathe in there.
Believe me, that will be the least of your problems.
You mean?
Jawohl, you won't be breathing.
Oh, boy.
Boris, he's not kidding.
You're not kidding, he's not kidding. Come on.
And the two villains set off on their last desperate attempt to thwart our heroes, who were at that moment wondering what to do with the Derby.
Bullwinkle, there's only one place that hat should be.
On a hat rack.
We gotta take it to Washington.
He never wears a derby.
No, I mean...
Usually he wears a wig.
Bullwinkle!
Besides, he's not with us anymore, you know.
Bullwinkle!
He's gone to the big cherry orchard in the sky.
I don't mean George Washington. I mean Washington, D.C.
Oh, him!
That derby should be worn by the heads of government.
Say, that's right.
Now, how do we get to Washington from here? We're broke.
Beats me.
Put on the hat and see if you can get an idea.
Okay, let's see. Well, obviously, the best way to get to Washington is run for office and be elected.
Bullwinkle, it worked.
It did? What'd I say?
We're going to run as candidates.
All the way to Washington?
No. Come on, I'll show you.
Rocky and Bullwinkle started their campaign. First, they held a rally of the Hatful clan.
And if I'm elected, I'll drive every Floy out of the county.
Next, they held a rally for the Floy clan.
And if I'm elected, I promise to drive every hatful out of the county.
You're going to be quiet around here after the election.
As a result, before the day was over, Rocky had been unanimously elected as a representative from Peaceful Valley, Missouri, and was on his way to Washington.
Traveling first class, too.
Yep, first-class freight.
Boris, they are getting away.
Of course, but the Derby won't.
Yes, at that moment, Rocky asked,
When will we arrive in Washington, Bullwinkle?
Wait, I'll put on my demon derby and come up with the answer.
Boris prepared to hurl a strange weapon.
He's a boomerang, Natasha.
Darling, you can't throw a boomerang.
In a perfect cycle, Natasha. Watch.
And just as Bullwinkle began to speak,
We'll arrive in Washington on
the boomerang neatly lifted the Derby from his head.
Go on, Bullwinkle.
Go on where?
When do we get there?
Why, ask me.
'Cause you're wearing the Kirward Derby on your head and... Hokey smoke, it's gone.
My head?
The hat.
Oh, I'm glad it wasn't my head. I wouldn't have nothing to hang my antlers on.
The wind must have blown it off. Stop the train.
Well, here it comes, darling. Oh, Boris, you're such a dirty crook.
You're just saying this because you know it's true.
Where did you learn to throw boomerang?
Where else? Australia, where I spent 2 years living with the kangaroos.
You were a naturalist.
No, a pickpocket.
Well, it looks as if our bad guys have won at last. But anyway, watch our next gloomy episode, Boomerang Bowler, or Boris Makes a Comeback. Well, the Kirward Derby has really been an on-again, off-again proposition. The latest on was when Rocky said...
Put it on, Bullwinkle. Maybe you can tell us what time we'll arrive in Washington.
Easy. We'll figure the circumference of the standard wheel disc times the rate of speed computed sigma times the inverse square of the logarithm of the cosine and tangent.
Sure we will.
And the latest off was when Boris hurled a boomerang which neatly lifted the Derby from Bullwinkle's dome and began to return it to the villains.
Darling, it's working.
Of course, when I throw boomerang, it always goes in perfect circle.
Careful, darling. Nobody's perfect.
Go ahead, Bullwinkle.
Go ahead and what?
Sigma your inverse cosiner. Uh-oh, your derby's gone again.
The wind must have blew it off.
Stop the train.
Well, here it comes, Natasha. Now I
But
just...
the boomerang was just a little too high for Boris to reach, and as a result, it went past him in a wide arc and headed right back toward our heroes. Derby was deposited neatly on his head again.
And we'll be in Washington at 7:32.5 p.m.
Bullwinkle, it's back again.
Me, certainement, mon ami.
But the steam is coming out of your ears. You better take it off.
Well, Boris, you were right. Boomerang goes in perfect circle. First to them,
Then to us,
then back to them.
then... Hey, I just figured out.
What?
It should be coming back to us again. If...
Congratulations, darling. You were right again.
Who needs it?
Well, just as Bullwinkle had predicted, their freight train rolled into Washington at 7:32 and a half, and our boys dashed into town to deliver the Kirward Derby to a responsible government agency. Unfortunately, by now it was 7:40 p.m.
Don't worry, we're closed for the day.
But this is important.
What is?
What we got in this hat box is...
Let me ask you, will it explode before 10 a.m.?
No, but it...
Will it melt?
No.
Will it go flat?
No,
Then
but...
come back in the morning.
Will somebody see us?
I don't know, but I'll be off duty then.
Golly, what are we going to do?
Say, I don't want to be a nosy Parkov, but aren't you Rocky and Bullwinkle?
That's right. Who are you?
Allow me to introducing myself. Hail, fellow J. Beckslap, official Washington greeter.
Greeter?
Listen. Welcome, welcome, welcome! Come.
Say, that's a pretty good greeting, all right.
Sounds like his welcome is wagon. But haven't we met before, Mr. Backslap?
I'd know you if we did, stranger. I'm terrible on faces, but I never forget a pair of antlers.
Well, maybe you can help us get a room, Mr. Backslap.
Can I help you get a room? Can I help you get a room?
You notice kind of an echo around here?
How would you like to spending the night in the little White House?
What's the little White House?
It's where the special friends of the president stay.
You mean we're special friends of the president?
Why not, Rock? I've been voting the straight Bull Moose ticket for years.
Gee, swell. Lead us to it.
And hail fellow J. Backslap led them down a dimly lit street to a house that was shabby, run down, and very sinister.
But it is white, sorta.
Golly, is this where the president's special friends stay?
Yes, and what's more, he's inside waiting for you.
He is?
Oh, he shouldn't have done it. Just a phone call would have been enough.
Well, for once, Boris wasn't lying. The president was waiting inside, but it was the president of the Liquidate Rocky and Bullwinkle Club, fearless leader himself.
And the meeting will come to order.
Be with us next time for All in Fever Say Aye, or The Emotion is Carried. Last time, you remember, our heroes weren't able to turn the Kirward Derby over to a responsible government agency due to the fact that they showed up in Washington after closing hours.
But this is a crisis.
In this town, Buster, everything's a crisis.
And as if that weren't enough, they were flim-flammed by Boris Baranov, who pretended to be an official greeter.
Hello, my friends. Hello. With my guitar, I sing to you.
You don't have a guitar.
I don't have an entertainment license either.
It's okay. That wasn't entertainment.
Come on, wise guy. Wise one.
And Boris had taken them to the little White House, which happened to be neither little nor particularly white.
But it is a house, and inside is the president.
The president?
Oh, boy.
Yes, the president of the Let's Liquidate Rocky and Bullwinkle Club.
Gee, we can give him the Kirward Derby.
I don't know if it'll fit over all that hair.
And Rocky reached for the handle of the door just as, I can't watch. Tell me what happened.
All righty. Suddenly, a mysterious voice comes from nowhere.
Who said that?
Don't look at me.
Thanks.
And then two round eyes appeared out of nothing.
And a scooch gun, too.
Aimed right at you know who.
Me, that's who.
Bullwinkle, do you know who that is?
Sure, it's Mr. Backslap.
No, those two voices.
The Invisible Man plus one?
No, it's Clyde and Gidney, the Moonmen.
Oh, boy.
So it is. How come you fellas to be here?
Oh, we've been on your trail for days, Bullwinkle.
Ever since you left the convention.
The Moose Convention?
Moon Convention?
I thought you said Moon Convention, Clyde.
I thought it was Moon Convention, Gidney.
Well, anyway, here we are. Hand it over.
And what over?
The Kirward Derby. We came to take it back.
Never.
Never.
You said it.
Because it makes anyone who wears it the smartest person in the world.
That's right, and that's why we need it.
Yeah, but so do we.
And so do I.
But we need it more than you need it.
How come that?
You tell him, Clyde. No, you. All
right,
right,
I will.
We really need it for King Nosmo.
And the two Moonmen told our heroes the fabulous story of their Moon King, Nosmo the One-Half. Nosmo was the only child of King Ugbert the Ugly and Queen Ethelred the Unready. He was raised in the lap of lunar luxury and sent to the moon's finest schools. But at his final examinations...
Very well, Your Highness. How much is 2 and 2?
What's a two?
How do you spell catalog?
C-A-T. C-A-T, that's cat.
Come, my boy. What follows
Oh,
cat?
D-O-G, dog.
Let's face it, Your Majesty, Nosmo's just one of those misfits.
Nevertheless, Lyndon, he is a prince.
Okay, he's one of those misprints.
Better. And someday he's going to rule the moon.
That is going to rule the moon.
This little piggy went to market. This little piggy, don't tell me.
One day under his rule and we're doomed.
You're right, Lyndon. Very well. Summon the wizard.
Summon the wizard.
Summon the wizard!
Summon the wizard!
Hey, Wiz! Yeah, right away. What'll it be, fellas? What'll it be? Card trick? Magic flowers? Genie out of the bottle?
You call...
No, nothing like that.
All right, cool it, Gene. What's the problem?
We need something to make Nosmo smart.
How about a good belt right
No, not that kind of smart.
We want to make him intelligent.
Oh, you're kidding, aren't you? I can't do anything for you today.
Why not?
It's the end of the episode.
My goodness, so it is. Be with us again when we'll see Too Much Too Moon, or What Makes Luna Tick. While it seems the Kirward Derby is probably the most wanted hat that ever was. First of all, Rocky and Bullwinkle want it.
We want it so we can help our country.
Fearless Leader wants it.
I want it so I can rule the world.
Boris wants it.
I want it so I can rule Fearless Leader.
And the Moonmen, Gidney and Cloyd want it.
We want it because it's ours.
Yours?
And while our friends listened open-mouthed, and Boris listened gnashing his teeth, and Fearless Leader listened patting his machine gun, the Moonmen told their loony story.
That's Lunar story.
Sorry, the light's bad. It seems that on the moon there was once a very stupid, ignorant prince named Nosmo.
Not me, you idiot. Him.
Daddy, play hide and go seek with me.
All right, Nosmo. I'll hide and you count to 5.
I always get the hard part. 1, 2, right here's what gets tough. 2.
I've got to do something, Lyndon.
Why not call for the wizard?
Good idea. Oh, Mr. Kirward!
Sorry to be late. The lights was against me.
Oh, wizard, you must do something about my son.
It's a little late now, isn't it? I mean, he's kind of big to get rid of now. People would talk.
No. I just want Nosmo to be a good ruler.
Oh, why don't you say so? I just say the magic word, Menominee, Michigan, and there you are. He's a good ruler.
Not that kind of a ruler.
Oh.
Put him back.
He makes more sense this way.
Come on.
Oh, very well. Sacramento, California.
3,
Try 4.
Gee, thanks. 4, 2, 3,
Mr. Kirward, I want you to make Nosmo intelligent.
You must be joking.
No. He's going to be king someday. He must be smart. Why don't you make him a magic crown or something?
Sorry, I can't help you.
Guards!
But I'll try.
Good.
But it's going to take a lot out of me.
And so the wizard worked day and night readying his magic spell, designing the crown, preparing the magical elements until finally late one night...
10 seconds to midnight. 9, 8...
Will it work, Mr. Kirward?
It's better. 7, 6, 5...
That's the number proper, 5. Now let's play hide and go seek.
Keep away from the table, Nosmo.
2, 1...
Well, when the smoke cleared away, everybody seemed unharmed except Mr. Kirward, who said...
I told you this was going to take a lot out of me.
But instead of a crown, on the table was the Kirward Derby.
Not much for looks, is it?
No, but put it on anyway, Nosmo.
All right.
Now, can you count up to 5?
Of course, Peter, but I'd rather discuss electron distribution and spectrohelic magnetic field.
Kirward, you did it! He's smart!
Yeah.
Name your price, you can have anything.
Anything?
Anything!
Okay. You know where I can get some lifts for these shoes?
And so King Nosmo has worn the Kirward Derby ever since.
Yeah, but what's it doing down here?
King Nosmo lent it to us to make our first trip here.
And Cloyd forgot it.
I left it under a theater seat in St. Louis.
How come?
We were watching an out-of-town tryout.
It was so bad.
We had to leave quickly.
Well, it's finders keepers, I always say. Right, boys? All together, right.
But our heroes remained silent.
What's the matter? You don't believe in togetherness?
No, 'cause it's really their hat.
Details, always details. Now, let's go in and see the president.
But as Rocky reached for the doorknob, Fearless Leader reached for the trigger. Oh, don't miss our next episode, Flying Bullets or a Cartridge in a Pear Tree. Last time, you remember, our heroes listened open-mouthed...
With heads to match.
...while the Moonmen told them about their king, Nosmo the One-Half. While wearing his crown, which we know as the Kirward Derby, he was a wise and just ruler.
Of the Moonmen, by the Moonmen, and for the Moonmen.
But without the Derby, he was a dreadful lame brain.
Go on, Your Majesty.
It was a great fight. I'll be right home, Mom.
Unfortunately, Gidney and Cloyd were allowed to wear the hat on their first Earth trip.
And we lost it.
But we found it.
And finders keepers, losers weepers, right?
Right.
Wrong.
Wrong.
Bullwinkle, it's really their hat.
Well, why don't we just ask the president about it? He's just inside.
And he was, only this was the president of the Liquidate Rocky and Bullwinkle Club, fearless leader.
We can't go wrong asking the prez, Rocky.
I guess not. Let's go in.
But as Rocky's hand reached for the doorknob,
The president? Oh, Cloyd, let's us go in first.
First, how?
Simple. We just fade out here and fade in here. Say, you're not the president. I can tell.
But you won't.
and fearless leader swung his weapon toward Gidney and fired. Gidney dropped to the... Now, wait a minute. You're not hurt.
I wasn't hit, that's why.
But somebody fired.
It was me. Fastest scrooch gun in the West.
Yes, fearless leader was now frozen into position and couldn't move a muscle.
Hey, fade out. They're coming in.
And so our heroes entered.
Okay, let them have it.
Let us have what?
Shoot.
Let us have what, Mr. Backslap?
Well, the 21-gun salute. What else? You fellas are big time, you know.
Now they're not going to do it, huh?
Well, it's part of the economy drive. Those 21-gun salutes cost a pretty penny, you know.
Anybody ever see an ugly penny?
But who's this?
He's the president's special guard.
Boy, he sure is well trained. He doesn't move a muscle.
Not till 10 o'clock, anyway.
Should we tell him now, Gidney?
No use worrying them, Cloyd. Let's just keep an eye on that backslap fellow.
Through here is president's office.
Oh, boy.
Now, when I open the door, you bow real low like this.
Like this?
No, your package is in the way. Here, let me hold it for you.
That's mighty thoughty.
Ready now?
Ready.
And Boris swung the door wide.
Ta-da!
Howdy, Mr. Blue.
And our heroes plummeted downward.
You know, for a president, he's quite a prankster.
Bullwinkle.
Maybe he is a little young for the job.
Bullwinkle, we've been hoodwinked.
Yeah, he sure winks a mean hood, too.
Bullwinkle, the president wasn't even there.
Oh, that's all right, then.
Not quite, for at that moment our heroes plunged into the murky waters of the Potomac River. Meanwhile, in the house above them, Boris was triumphant.
I got it. It's all mine, the Kirward Derby. Natasha, come out wherever you are.
Here I am, darling. I was just hanging up these new cobwebs.
Natasha, I got the Kirward Derby.
Boris, how?
How else? By stealing, lying, cheating, and double-crossing. Like I always say, Natasha.
Yes.
It matters not the final score, but how you played the game.
Oh, put it on, darling.
Do I let him have it now, Gidney?
No, Cloyd, not now.
But he's going to put the Kirward Derby on.
I know.
That'll make that crook the smartest man in the world.
I know.
And you're just letting him do it?
I know.
Gidney, that's downright unmoon.
And we'll find out just how unmoon in our next episode, The Crepe Hangers, or Brighten the Coroner Where You Are. Well, last time was a black-letter day for our friends. Not only did Boris kick them through a doorway into the Potomac River, but he made off with the first prize for this whole sequence, the Kirward Derby.
Natasha, guess what? We won once.
Hardly seems possible, darling.
Hey, maybe they got new writers on the show. Thanks, fellows.
Put on hat, Boris. Find out how we rule the world.
Fortunately, the two villains were being watched by those two kooky moonmen, Gidney and Cloyd.
I scrooch him now, huh? 1, 2...
No, Cloyd, not now.
But he's going to put on the Kirward Derby.
That's right.
How can you do this, Gidney? It's downright unmoon.
Not really. Just watch.
And while the moonmen watched, all eyes,
And little else.
Boris placed the Kirward Derby on his head.
I got notebook, darling. Speak up.
It's all coming clear.
Yes, darling. How do we rule the world?
But something remarkable seemed to be happening to Boris.
What is it, darling? What are you thinking?
I can see it now.
Go ahead.
Being a villain is such a waste of time.
What?
Nobody likes me, not even other villains. If everybody was like me, what a terrible world it would be. The wise thing to do is learn a trade, like making apple boxes, raise family, gain the respect of neighbors, have friends, because, Natasha, crime really doesn't pay, and fooey.
Boris, you're not going to wear Kirward Derby?
You said it. If that's being smart, you can have it.
He threw it away, Gidney.
Yep, you see, Cloyd, some people just can't stand being smart.
How come?
Because they can't admit they were ever dumb.
Meanwhile, what of our friends Rocky and Bullwinkle?
We're floating down the Potomac, that's what of.
Hey, you're doing pretty well, Bullwinkle.
What do you mean?
I mean, considering that you can't swim, you're doing hokey smoky sing.
And the plucky squirrel dived under and hauled Bullwinkle up by the antlers.
I wish you hadn't said that, Rock. I sank clear to the bottom.
I didn't think the water was that deep here, Bullwinkle.
Well, I'll just show you. The water's clear up to here.
Come on, Bullwinkle.
And our friends walked up on the shore and right into the outskirts of a large crowd.
Wonder what they're waiting for.
Maybe waiting for the president to throw out the first cherry blossom.
What's a big crowd for, mister?
New congressman coming to town today.
Really? Who's that?
Feller from a small town in Missouri.
I thought they already had one of those once.
Nope, he went back home again.
Too bad. He played a mean piano.
This one's name is Squirrel, Rocket J. Squirrel.
Oh, sure, I've heard of him. Rocky, that's you!
And it was. Our boys were cheered by the enthusiastic crowd.
Red!
And then Rocky was installed in his new office.
Now, there's something you don't see every day, Edgar.
What's that, Chauncey?
A squirrel in Congress.
Oh, I don't know, Chauncey. Just a matter of time.
How's that?
They've had so many nuts in Congress, a squirrel was bound to show up someday.
True.
Gee, it's like a dream come true, Bullwinkle.
But when the mail began to arrive, it was more like a bad dream, for half of it was from the backwoods clan called the Hatfuls.
They demand I get rid of the Cloys.
And the other half was from the Cloys.
They demand I get rid of the Hatfuls.
Boy, it's pretty tough being a congressman.
It certainly was, particularly since a member of each of the clans was at that moment in the outer office armed to the teeth.
And if he don't get rid of him, I'm gonna blast him. You said it, cousin.
Well, be with us next time for Double Trouble or Two's a Crowd. Politics, they say, makes strange bedfellows. But even hardened politicians were a little surprised at having to snuggle up with a squirrel. Yes, Rocky was the new congressman from Peaceful Valley, and already he had his problems.
Them hatfuls gotta go.
Them Floys gotta go.
This is a tough problem, Bullwinkle.
Yeah, and they expect you to pull an answer right out of your hat.
Well, then I will. I'll put on the Kirward Derby and become the smartest guy in the world for a minute.
But we don't have the Kirward Derby.
But we do.
Sort of spooky to watch a hat creeping up on you, isn't it?
I had the same trouble with some long underwear once.
But the hat was really being carried by those two now you see them, now you don't Moonmen.
Kidney and Chloe.
And Rocky carefully put on the Kirward Derby. It was a little big.
What's the answer, Rock? That's what I thought, but it's illegal.
What's he saying, Kidney?
I'm not sure, but I think it's take the hat off.
Oh, of course.
Phew. Gee, that's better.
Well, what's the answer, Rocky?
It's easy. We're going to evacuate both families.
And so within the hour, busloads of hatfuls started leaving the state heading east, while busloads of Floys were leaving the state heading west. Oddly enough, they all seemed delighted at the idea. Say, don't you know what evacuation means?
Evacuation? Dag nab, I thought that word was vacation.
But where will they all wind up, Rock?
I don't know, Bullwinkle. But once they're over the state line, they're somebody else's problem.
Say, he did learn fast, didn't he?
We better get that hat back to the moon.
And so as our friends waved bye-bye, the Moonmen took off in their flying saucers.
Have a good orbit.
Give my regards to Broadway.
Yeah.
Why so sad, Clyde?
We were in 6 episodes, and I only got to scooch one bad guy.
Cheer up. Maybe we'll find another one.
How about that one?
Yes, just below them was Boris pleading for his life.
Now, let's not be hasty, fearless leader, old body boy, sweetie pie. I can make it all up to you.
How?
I turn back all my medals.
Junk jewelry.
Give you genuine 14-karat gold brick.
Chicken feed.
My mortgage on the Pentagon.
A scrap of paper.
And last but not least, my autographed picture of Sonia Tofts.
Sonny Tufts. You found the chink in my armor, Baronoff.
No. On second thought, shoot. I'd rather die than part with it.
A deal's a deal. You promised.
Phew, that was close, Natasha.
But as Boris took off his hat and wiped his brow...
Get him, Clyde?
Direct hit.
Yes, Boris had been frozen solid by Clyde's scrooch gun, and what's more, he was standing next to a flagpole. In his frozen position, he appeared to be perpetually saluting the American flag.
And believe me, darling, for him that's a fate worse than death.
You sure it.
Meanwhile, inside the Capitol building...
Gentlemen, as you know, this is the last day of this session of Congress.
Yeah.
But I think it only fair that we hear the maiden speech of our new colleague. Go ahead, Rocky.
Where's my speech, Bullwinkle?
Here it is.
But unfortunately, Bullwinkle gave Rocky the last page instead of the first page, so his first words were...
And so, Mr. Speaker, I move we adjourn.
Second!
All in favor?
Aye!
Adjourned.
Marvelous speech.
Best of the year.
But you didn't make your speech, Rock.
Bullwinkle, sometimes you can say the smartest things, but keeping your mouth shut.
Little moral there. Sounds like the tagline of the whole story.
And it is, too. But be with us next time for the further adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
I guess that about wraps up another Rocky show.
Certainly hope you enjoyed it. I did. I always say.
Bullwinkle, time for us to go.
Already? Okay, but first, here are some of the people who made this show impossible.
That's not all.
The fingers get tired. Oop! Got away from me again.
Well, see you next time. Ready, Bullwinkle?